Hi guys, welcome to new video. So today I'm gonna show you a small project that I created, and as you can see it will be called concept patch 1.5 because there has been this thing that some players from our community were trying to include some balance changes to the game that would of course improve the game a little bit. So I of course also decided to do my own version, and since the last patch of the game that was official of course from the developers was 1.4, I decided to call this concept patch 1.5. So in this video I'm gonna introduce you all the changes I made, and I will also show you one quick game. For now it's just included on this one map, Darkside Forest, which is of course the most played map competitively. So I just decided to include it here. And in this video I'm gonna show you this whole this whole file. As you can see, when I do something I always try to do it really in deep, so I just wrote all the stats here. As you can see, some of the stats are not written here because I didn't remember them, and I was doing most of these numbers just from my mind what I remembered. And of course I don't remember the reload time and attack time of every single unit, so some values are not there, but since I didn't change them, I didn't really feel like it was needed to actually go through the editor and fill out everything. Yeah, so this is not filled, but basically everything that is highlighted by the steel color is what changed. All the green lines are the updated values of the unit, and of course then you have blue for Empire units, orange for Beast units, and purple for Fallen units, and then we also have buildings down here. So as you can see, there is a ton of data. I will go through it and I will show you all that I changed, and then we'll go to the game as I said, and I will show you one quick game where we will see how it works. Quick disclaimer, this is, as I said, just a concept. Definitely we are not changing anything. I can't even do it of course because we can't change the baseline game. This is just something that I don't think is better than the way the developers actually balance the game. This is just a different version that unlocks different opportunities to try different strategies, because right now the game is let's say really repetitive. If you just play with Empire in early game, you'll always make Swordsman, then you transfer to some Priest and maybe Catapults later, or if you need some pike damage or anti-air, you will adjust it a little bit, but it's always the same. Same with Beasts, you usually go for Goblin Riders, then edge rolls, switches. So I'm trying to create some variation in all stages of the game, so early game, mid game and late game, by mostly buffing some units, because I want to maintain the game fun. If you nerf something to the ground and remove some functions of it, you will just totally kill the unit. No one will enjoy it, no one will play it. You will kill the gameplay that someone enjoyed, which is not the goal. The goal is to create more opportunities, so you can choose from different strategies that will be all similar strength, and this way you can create more variety in the game and actually make it feel much more alive. So this was the goal. I'm not saying this is final. I definitely want to adjust it more after some testing. For now I only did some testing against AIs, so of course right now when I am releasing it to you, let's say, or announcing it, I would like you to test it a little bit just against AIs or between yourselves, or of course with me if you want. And then we can of course gather some extra feedback, make some extra adjustments, and hopefully create something that will be a fun mode that we of course can sometimes play. Of course there will always be the classic 1.4 patch, that even if we release the game in the future and decided to do some balance patches, we would of course always keep the original 1.4 patch because that's the standard. So yeah, let's start with the changes. As you can see, first we have the Empire units. So first change is of course Elf Ranger or Elven Ranger, which is the baseline range unit from Barracks. This unit was really underperforming. It was almost never used unless you really need it quickly to create something against air. Then you of course went for Phoenix's Towers and Elf Rangers all at once. But outside of that, it was basically never used. I tried different buffs. The first iteration that I tried actually was 14 damage and 8 range, so 1 extra range and 4 extra damage. I tried it, and actually I was kind of surprised that even the AI was really able to adapt to the strategy. It somehow measured the power of the unit that I made there, and it started creating the Elf Rangers much more. They were just spamming them, and it was basically unbeatable. Yeah, so I definitely had to brought it back a little bit. So I actually reverted the range change and I decided to go for 12 damage, which seems pretty decent. So right now we have the same damage as Swordsman, but of course we are much squishier, but we also have range. So I think this is the right balance. Elf Ranger is now really usable. You can use it in the early game in combination with Swordsman, which is the perfect middle ground, of course, because right now in patch 1.4 you are basically only spamming Swordsman, and once I buffed the Elf Rangers, we were only spamming Elf Rangers. So the perfect balance would be in the middle when you have tanky Swordsman in the back, and then you are supporting them with damage from Elf Rangers from the back. I don't have the attack speed of Swordsman written here, but I think it's maybe slower than Elf Ranger, so the DPS should be better, but I'm not 100% sure by this. But of course, the advantage of Elf Rangers is that you are ranged, so even in a smaller space, you can still shoot with all of them. You can also kite with them. You have different damage types, so overall, definitely a really usable unit in the early game. And I'm glad with, I'm happy with this change. I think this is balanced. You could argue that it should be 13 or 11. Of course, it needs a little bit more testing, but I think this is the right middle ground. Then I also made Dryads a little bit cheaper. Actually, one more thing, while I was making this, I was also going through the patch notes of patch 1.4, so I kinda investigated what the developers actually changed in the last patch that was released officially, and they actually increased the price of Dryad. I think before they were like 30 and 10 or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, you can check it, but it was definitely a little bit cheaper, and then they increased the price, which I don't think was necessary. So I actually brought it back a little bit. Of course, gems are still the same because it's still a caster. You can just reduce the gems, it would be too broken. But for now, this is definitely a nice change that can allow you to use them more like priests, let's say, just a little bit earlier, but of course without the heal. But priests are also super cheap on gold, they don't even cost any wood, and they are expensive on gems. So I tried to bring it a little bit to the similar values, so you can also use them together with swordsmen, which are of course pretty gold heavy. So this should help it a little bit. Then we have Phoenix, plus 5 damage. I don't think Phoenix was a bad unit, so definitely this is not because I wanted to increase the strength just because of this. The thing is that most of you kinda complained that the fallen air is super broken in the late game, so I tried to increase the strength of air for Empire and Beast, also adjust the fallen air a little bit. So this is just to balance the air a little bit more. Of course, you still have the AoE Nova that is dealing the same damage. This is just a single target. It won't matter too much, but if you have enough Phoenixes, or maybe just a small fight in the beginning between a Phoenix and Valkyrie or something, you'll have a little bit more damage, which can definitely help you. So I think this is a nice change that will definitely make it a little bit easier to actually fight in the air. Then we have Priest, Catapult, Valkyrie, Gnome Arc. I didn't change anything about these units. I think they are pretty balanced. Miner team, once again, I saw some changes in the 1.4 patch. They actually increased, they decreased the HP, I think, from 300, and then they also changed gems price a little bit. So overall, it was a little bit different. I decided to just reduce the gems price even more. This unit is not used at all, let's say, because the mine shafts are just not too usable. So I don't really see a reason for this to be so gems expensive, since Empire is also already pretty gems heavy. So there is no need for another unit that is just for utility and fast travel to be so expensive on gems. So I reduced it to half, 25 gems. Then we have Steambird. This is not a bad unit, but it's super expensive. I wanted to keep the 125 wood price, which is the most expensive unit on wood. Also 250 gold, which is the same as Knight, but I felt like the 125 gems was a little bit too much. It was really not encouraging anyone to make Steambird. Maybe only like in free-for-all games. I saw it few times, but outside of that, not really too much. Now I brought it to 100, which is the same as Knight, so right now we have basically the same price, except the wood difference. So you can lean a little bit more towards the Steambird if you want. So this is just a small adjustment. It will also unlock, let's say, a really strong strategy for Empire with full air, where you actually don't go for Valkyries, but you go for Steambirds and Phoenixes. And Steambird is now cheaper and Phoenix is a little bit buffed, so that could help a little bit to also encourage this strategy. Then we have Knights. I don't think we need to change anything there. Pretty balanced unit, I think. It's of course strong, but it can still be countered by pike damage. It of course cannot attack air. It doesn't have range, so it has its weaknesses and strengths. I think it's pretty balanced. Same with Mage, just a normal caster, which is pretty strong, but I think it's balanced as well. And then I also decided to change Dire Bear, which is the unit that you can actually summon with Dryads with Call of the Wild ability. It's pretty expensive, but I think it was not used basically at all. And right now I think it might be used. You have cheaper Dryads, and also the bear is a little bit stronger. So I think this should definitely help it a little bit, maybe encourage some players to try this strategy. You have 50 more HP, 5 more attack. It's not like broken unit, but it can definitely help you in the early game. Maybe you can combine it with the Elf Rangers and try something like a full elf build with Empire. So definitely I think this is not needed change, but definitely nice quality of life change. Then we have Beast, once again Minion, and I was not changing these like super baseline units like Peasants or Villagers, let's say, Peasants, Minions and Harvesters. So no change is needed here. Maybe some small explanation, because as you can see, both Minion and Peasant cost 50 gold. Both of them take 20 seconds to produce. Both of them cost 1 population. Both of them have bash damage. But Peasant just has 30 less HP and 1 less damage. So this would maybe seem unbalanced, but you have to keep in mind that the Beast base is protected by pure strength. So you have Borons and then you have Minions that are kinda protecting the base, while with Empire you actually can garrison into your own buildings. So if they start harassing your peasants, you just run into your town hall or castle or stone keep and you just enter and you are safe. While with the Beast you actually have to fight, so it makes sense that you have a little bit stronger stats and also more units with Borons, because the faction actually works like this. Yeah, then you also have Fallen, where you have Harvesters. Based on stats, they are actually pretty weak because they take 2 population. They don't have actually double damage. They also don't have double HP, even though they have more than double HP of Peasant, but definitely not double of Minion. They also have bash, but of course, as I said, they cost 2 population. They don't take that much time to create. This was actually also something they changed in the patch 1.4. I think it was 36 seconds before, so they reduced the production time a little bit, which I think was definitely a good change. They also have 1 armor, so I think this unit is maybe not as strong or whatever if you just take pure stats, but you have to keep in mind that you also have the auto regeneration from Unholy Regeneration on the Unholy Ground. You can also upgrade the Grasp ability, and then the unit actually becomes really strong. So overall I think definitely Villagers are pretty balanced and there is no need to change that. I also didn't change a Warrior. They also made a small change in the last patch from 360 HP to 370. I think this is okay. I can actually show you another thing that I did. For example, this calculation where I took all the baseline units, Swordsman, Warrior and Hivestinger. I calculated some value based on, I'm not gonna explain this in detail, it's quite complicated, but just the point of it. I took some values like HP, armor, damage, price and population, and then I created some scores based on it, and then I compared them. So as you can see, I'm not actually sure what exactly what value was what, but you can see the HP here, some values. So it's basically compared to the price. So I tried to measure how strong the units would be if you actually mess them and you spend all resources on them and the same population. So then you can see that, for example, I think this was the value that was just pure strength with population also. So if you just messed Hivestingers on the same population, they would be by far the strongest. But once you start also ignoring the population and just price, then for example Warrior becomes much stronger. But you also have to keep in mind that Swordsmen have priests, really early on, so that will also increase the strength of them. So I mean, this is a little bit complicated. I also did it some time ago, so I don't remember exactly these numbers, but I just wanted to show you that this was just not just some random changes that I made here. It was based on some research and also calculations, and also of course some feedback and testing. So I hope that this will actually be some really nice changes, and it is supported by some data. One change I made here was to Berserker. As you can see, I increased the damage by 2. It's a question if it was needed, but I feel like it was not really used that much. Of course, Berserker is more like a late game unit, and the front line of Beast was not too present for in the late game for Beast. You were basically never making ogres and berserkers, only sometimes. Usually it was just goblin hunters and trolls, so I also wanted to support this a little bit more. I don't think anyone would rush Stonehenge, or sorry, just Henge building to unlock the berserker ability in Weapon Master to research it, just to gain 2 more damage. So this is really just about the late game to enforce the front line of Beast a little bit. Just a small damage upgrade, which I think is really nice. Then we have a Goblin Rider nerf. This is our first nerf that we have here. 1 damage nerf. As you can see, I brought it to the same value as you have on Goblin Hunter, because I don't really see the reason behind this, why you should have 1 more damage just by riding the Boron. You already have much more HP and of course reduced movement speed, but I think this was a little bit too overpowered. You can still upgrade your damage in Weapon Master. You have the superior boomerang upgrade in Goblin Hat that gives you even more range and also 1 more damage. So I changed this a little bit. It will definitely make it a little bit harder for the Beast in the early game, but I really think that it will be still a pretty strong unit, at least what I saw based on testing. Which is still the same. Once again, just the baseline caster units, MS Priest, no need to change anything about it. Then we have Harpy, similar to Phoenix. You have 5 damage increase, but the baseline damage of Harpy was already lower, so percentage based, this is actually a bigger buff, so this is really nice. And I also decided to increase the HP by 20, because Harpy is actually pretty important for Beast late game, because of confusion maybe, mostly. So it's really convenient to have the Harpy a little bit more tanky, because they usually died pretty quickly, so this might help a little bit, even though it's just 20 HP. I didn't make like super huge changes, just these small ones to try to adjust it a little bit. I didn't change Trolls yet, but since I nerfed of course Avengers a little bit, maybe it will need some change, same as Catapults, so this will maybe need some revisit, but for now I kept them the same. And this is maybe the biggest change of all the changes I made here, and that is that Striders now have pike damage. So this means that Beast, the only faction or race that never had pike damage, now has it. They have it on Strider. I didn't change a single stat on them, I just swapped the type damage, so now you can actually counter some units that take more damage from pike damage with Striders. It will also encourage you to make them a little bit more overall, so maybe some other races will need to incorporate some stealth revealing units more often, because of course Striders have stealth when they are not moving, and this can definitely help you with Knights, this can help you with, I don't know, Hive Spitters, Nightmares, Boron Riders, Trolls, Catapults, yeah, many units, all the big units, Ogres as well, all the big units that take more damage from pike, you can just counter them now with Striders. And they have also really good baseline damage, so this is actually really strong now. Of course, the other 2 races have the pike damage much earlier. You have Pikeman, which is just like the 2nd unit or something in barracks, and then you have the Hive Stinker, which is actually the total baseline unit of Fallen. This is a little bit more for the late game, but you can still access it if you want, and it might encourage you to actually go for Lizard Fortress, maybe even before Bestiary, because I also made a change to Wyvern. As you can see, I increased the HP by 5 because I think it was still a little bit too weak, but I mainly reduced the gems by 20 because you were just not able to make enough of the Wyverns to even compete with full Valkyrie spam. So now this should definitely make it much easier to make. And maybe this is too much, maybe it will be needed to revert it to 90 or something, or 85. But since I also reduced the gems price of Manticore Riders, I wanted them to still be a little bit more expensive on gems, so I decided to go for 80 for Wyverns and 85 for Manticores, even though actually Wyverns costed more gems before. And I also increased armor for Manticore Riders one by one, because I think they are still a little bit underperforming. You can't really increase the damage. They actually increased it in patch 1.4 from 10 to 12, which was definitely a good change. Unfortunately, we cannot adjust this damage in the editor, I think. So I just went for one armor upgrade. So this is definitely also a nice quality of life change. And then we have Ogres, just made them a little bit less expensive, because it was really hard to actually produce them with just one base. So this might help a little bit. Just 10 less gold, 10 less gems, nothing too crazy, but definitely can help a little bit, mainly with the gems, I would say. So also nice change here. And then we have Warlocks, nothing changed, same as Mages. And Demons. Demons were not used too much. It's really inconvenient to actually go for them. You need to make 3 witches, wait for mana, sacrifice them. Then the demon costs 10 population. It's really brutal. But once again, I'm trying to actually enforce, or not enforce, strengthen, let's say, the front line of Beast a little bit more. So I actually made the demons a little bit more tanky, 200 more HP, which is a lot, and also 1 more armor. So now we could actually maybe see some melee strategy with Beast, where you go for Berserkers and Demons in the front line, and maybe even Ogres, support them by some Manticores, Wyverns and Striders. So I would like to see what you guys can come up with, because these changes definitely encourage you to try these different strategies, as I said, and definitely this Demon change could also help you a little bit. Also, there is one more change to buildings. I will actually show immediately, because it's related to this, and that is that Mouth of Hell, which is the building that unlocks demons, costs 25 less gems. So this can definitely also help you a little bit to get to the demons a little bit earlier. Imps are still the same. I didn't really want to change this. Also, the mana of demons, that would maybe make it too broken. If I buffed this, too broken to rush the villagers with demons. So I didn't really want to include this. And this is actually an old change. I actually reverted this, so let me fix that for you. That is just a Guardian rune that you can summon with Warlocks. I actually didn't change this in the end. And then we have Fallen. As I said, Harvesters, no change needed here, Summoner as well. Hivestingers, I showed you the text file or something with the calculations. The baseline units are balanced. There is nothing to discuss about this. No need to change the stats on Flying Hivestingers. They have just the same stats, so I think that is also fine. I'm still thinking about Hivesplitters a little bit, because we kinda changed the early game for other races. I think maybe there would be actually needed a buff, even though this unit is also already pretty strong. Maybe it would need some adjustments, but I'm not sure exactly what yet. I would probably increase the HP, maybe to like 235 or 40, something like that, but I'm not doing that now. It needs some testing. For now, I think this is balanced. Then we have Hive Guard buff actually, which is the flying unit that you unlock with Valkycoon for Fallen. As you can see, it costs 5 less gems and also have 1 more damage. Yeah, so I mean, Valkyries were already pretty strong. Now we also have stronger Phoenixes, stronger Harpies. So of course the air will be much stronger for the other races now. So I also wanted to kinda balance it a little bit with Hive Guards that were not used that much, I think, especially in the late game. We're mainly using Stalkers, of course. So I buffed them a little bit. They will be a little bit more accessible and also a little bit stronger. I don't think this is broken. I think this is just to balance the changes for other races. Then we have Seekers, probably nothing really needed here. You could argue that you could make them a little bit more tanky or something in comparison to Phoenixes and Harpies, but they have stealth. You don't really use them for fight or anything. So I don't think they really need any change. Nightmares, this is actually not nerf or buff, even though it's more of a buff. It's a little bit of a rework. I just wanted to make them a little bit more of a glass cannon, because the tanky range unit, let's say, is Hivesplitter. Even though it's the HP difference is not that big, you have a little bit more HP. That's also why I was saying that maybe they will need a small buff of HP. But for now, I kept them the same, and Nightmares actually lost some HP. Originally, I tried to brought it to 200 from 225. Then I decided to actually bring it up a little bit again to 210. They seemed a little too squishy, so I think 210 should be the nice middle ground. You also have 2 more damage, so this is like to balance it out. That would basically mean the unit just changed a little bit. It's a little bit more glass cannon, as I said, but I also buffed them a little bit by also increasing their mana by 40. This is not something that will directly buff you if you do a timing push or something in the mid game or in total early game, because you will not get to 200 mana anyways. You spawn with like 60 or something, so definitely not something that will buff you immediately. But if you decide to go for Nightmares in the end game as well, where they were almost never used, this will definitely help you, because now you will be able to cast 4 Frost Shields with 1 mana pool at once, which is definitely nice. Right now you had 200, which means you could have casted 3 Frost Shield for 60 mana, together for 180, and you were left with 20 mana, which of course gave you access to another shield pretty soon, but now you will be able to cast the 4th shield immediately, which will definitely bring up the strength of Nightmares in endgame a little bit more. Then we have one small change for Matriarchs. You have 2 more damage. I mean, they were not bad, but they were only really used against, mostly against Empire, and they are still pretty squishy. I think they should have a little bit more damage. Of course, keep in mind that they have lifesteal, so this is actually also a little bit of a durability upgrade, let's say, or survivability. They will be a little bit more tanky with higher heal, but it's just 2 damage. I don't think this is broken once again. It's just to balance the loss of other units, which is actually the Avenger now. I don't think I killed Avenger, but I definitely nerfed it the most. They don't have any buffs, they have only nerfs, and it still needs some testing. Maybe out of the 3 nerfs I made, one of them will have to be reverted, but for now it still needs some more testing. Of course, I saw some of the other changes that some other players in our community tried to make. I know that Macrozerg was trying to make some changes. In my opinion, he just made the Elven Ranger too broken and he nerfed Avenger too much, but it's just my opinion. Now I'm trying to support it with some data, of course, and some testing. I just nerfed the armor by 1, the range by 1, and also the movement speed, which is really a big change here. I hope this doesn't kill the unit. I didn't want to change the HP and damage because that's the main stat in the fight, but I wanted to nerf the kiting potential of the unit, which was making it pretty impossible to actually win against Avengers with Beast, unless you had like 20 trolls supported by witches. Then it was possible, but outside of that you didn't really have a chance, because they would they would kite you forever. So I wanted to change this a little bit. So now you need to go closer to your enemy while also being squishier, while also having lower movement speed, which will make it much harder to actually get away from your enemy or kite him. As I said, maybe because of the change we'll need to nerf trolls and catapults a little bit, mainly trolls I think, but it still needs some testing. Maybe I will nerf them, maybe I will revert one of these changes, maybe the movement speed, but we definitely need to test this a little bit more. For now, I think the unit is still usable, but it's definitely not that broken. And especially of the other buffs of the other units, I think it encourages you to also go for some other strategies and not just spam Avengers in the late game. So this is definitely, I think, okay change. Voidwalker, I didn't change it once again, same as Warlock and Mages, even though those units are all pretty strong. I think they are so expensive on gems, so squishy, they are pretty balanced, and they are usually only part of the really late game. I actually buffed Ariel, which is the transport unit for Fallen. I compared it with Gnome Arc for Empire, and find out that it's actually pretty bad on stats. Of course, you have to keep in mind that it costs 1 less population, but it actually takes more time to create. It costs more, basically, of all resources, and I don't really see the reason behind it. So I at least increased the armor to 1, same as Gnome Arc, increased HP to 320, which is still less, but at least a little bit more, and also reduced the price of wood to 25, because even though Even though Nomarch also costs 50 wood, it doesn't cost any gems, so I just wanted to keep the amount of wood and gems together the same on both of them. So this is a little bit lower on wood, which could actually help you to create them a little bit earlier. And now, since they are also a little bit more tanky, you can also use them similarly as Empire uses Nomarchs in the fight, where you just put some units in them and then you drop them somewhere. So for example, with Hive Stingers, you wouldn't even need to go for Valkyrie to unlock Metamorphosis. You can just put them in the aerial and just drop them on enemy trolls or something. So definitely unlock some more potential. Also keep in mind that I also changed the buildings. So if you take a look down here, you can see the Dimension Gate now costs 50 gems instead of 75, which will also make it a little bit easier to get to this unit. Overall, I tried to reduce some gem prices, mostly on buildings, because usually the games got to the stage, if they were a little bit longer, where you had like 5,000 gold or something and you just didn't have gems to produce anything stronger, then Empire was forced to spam swordsmen instead of knights, even though they have everything unlocked and had a ton of gold. So overall, I tried to make the game a little bit less gems heavy so you can make more advanced units a little bit sooner. Then we have the Stalker. This was nerfed a little bit to 22. You have to keep in mind that there are two values. You have the inner damage, let's say, or single target, and outer damage, which splashes around, which is only half of this. So it changed from 24 and 12 to 22 and 11. I also tried to nerf this a little bit more as well. I think this should be okay. You have to keep in mind that the other units on other factions are buffed, so I think the air should be now a little bit more balanced. Maybe you will actually lean a little bit more towards the Hive Guards, of course, but they will be still heavily countered by Phoenixes and Manticores, so you still need to balance it a little bit. I didn't really want to nerf the Defile because now it will be actually harder to deal with trolls and these kinds of stuff because of the Avenger nerf, so this is definitely gonna be needed actually. Then we have the Beholder. This was already pretty strong unit, of course, but I mean, it's strong on stats, but it's super expensive on gems and prices, so no one actually basically ever made them unless it was like super late game and everyone had infinite resources. So I decided to make them a little bit cheaper, 30 less gold and also 20 less gems. They were the most expensive unit on gold. Now actually the Ogre, even though I also reduced the price on him, will be the most expensive by 305 gold. This is only 300, but you still need 180 gems, which is still a lot. I didn't change the wood price, I don't think that really matters. So just a small quality of change. Once again, also the Dimension Gate, as I said, is a little bit more accessible, so maybe someone might try this unit and include it into the army. But keep in mind that other units, other races are now stronger against air, so maybe this will still be a problem if you face a Phoenix or Harpy. Bone Warriors, I decided to not change them, but I decided to change Bone Archers a little bit because of the Elf Ranger change, of course. I tried to make them quite similar, so I brought the damage also to 12, but I decreased the HP to 140, so by 10, so they are a little bit more squishy. Of course, you can upgrade Elf Rangers, so they will still be stronger, also gain auras, but I wanted to make this unit a little bit stronger because 10 damage seemed a little bit underperforming. You are just straight up worse than Bone Warrior, and even though you still have less HP, actually even more or less, you have at least the same damage, so definitely nice change that will once again buff indirectly or directly Matriarchs as well. And the last change will also buff Matriarchs a little bit, and that is buff of Curse Tree, which is an ability that basically no one ever used, but I think on maps where you fight in a close space with many trees around, I think this could be actually useful. So I increased the HP by 100, which is definitely a lot, and also damage by 4. And you also have to keep in mind that the damage is like half splash or something, so definitely this could be also used a little bit, and you will actually have to decide if you want to use the Matriarchs for Curse Trees or Necromancy or Mana Burn, of course. So definitely some more options for the Matriarch unit here. And I also buffed the Dire Bear for Dryads, so this also made sense to buff the other units that can also summon some things like this. So now let's get to the buildings. We have the Empire buildings here, as you can see, farm, 100 more HP. This is just based on the fact that if you close your base, you can of course close it with 2 barracks or 2 arenas, but usually if you want to block it really quickly, you block it with a farm and barracks, or stable and arena, and these buildings just usually gets really quickly destroyed if someone really commits to it in the early game. So I just gave you 100 more HP on stable and farm, and also if you take a look at Deformer, which is like the equivalent building, let's say, to this, it already had 600 HP, so I thought that this would be definitely a good idea to bring it to the same value. I also made temple a little bit more tanky, maybe not needed change, but it will definitely help you a little bit to keep the temple alive. That can definitely heal your units really effectively in some fights, so this can also help you a little bit. And then we have some tower changes. So first I actually reduced the HP of Scout Tower, because I think the point of this tower should be just to put it somewhere and it will scout the area for you, and if an army comes there you will know about it, but they shouldn't have a problem destroying your tower, so it doesn't need that much HP. But as you can see, the watchtower still has the same HP, so if you upgrade the Scout Tower you will not lose any HP. It is just in this first stage. You will actually gain 1 more armor, so it will get to 2. This is one change they actually reverted, let's say, in the patch 1.4. It was 2 originally, and then they brought it to 1, so I brought it back, but at the same time I actually reduced the damage to 19, because the attack speed of the watchtower is just so broken. So I actually decided to bring this damage a little bit down. In my multiplayer guide videos, or the file that I gave you, Excel as well, I actually had the damage of each tower, or DPS of each tower, actually written down, and this was still really strong, so I decided to bring it a little bit down. But at the same time I actually decided to buff the guard tower by giving it 20 more HP, and also 1 more pierce damage and 1 more fire damage from the original value, so it's even more of a difference from the new value of watchtower, and now it's actually really valuable to go for the guard tower upgrade, and you definitely want to do it. But it's 25 more wood expensive, so definitely keep this in mind, that it's not that easy to get to this. Yeah, so it's just a small redesign of the human towers. They are a little bit more tanky, and except the Scout Tower, but you have a little bit less damage, and then the guard tower is actually just stronger overall, but it's a little bit more expensive. Then we have the beast changes. I actually made a small stronghold change. I took a small inspiration here from Macrozerg. I thought that it was definitely a good idea. He just maybe over exaggerated it a little bit. I don't think it needed that much change. So I just brought the gold cost to 380 and wood cost to 100. The reason behind this is because expanding with Fallen is pretty easy. You just don't even need to stand there with your villager. You just place it down and it will auto-create itself. And with Empire you have teamwork once you upgrade it, so you can actually build really quickly your expansions. So it might actually make sense to reduce the build time, even though I still think it's bugged in the editor, even for buildings. So I don't think we can do this, but I'm not exactly sure right now. But definitely the price will help you a little bit. You can go for the expansion quicker, and if you go for immediate expansion you will have some extra resources to work with, maybe for a totem or something, so definitely really useful. Also I brought up an armor a little bit, because it was value 2 while the Fallen was 3, but Empire was actually 5, so there was like a gap. So I decided to make it 5 for 3 like this, and just brought the armor from 2 to 4. Which might just make it a little bit easier for you to maintain the stronghold alive. Then we have the stable, as I said, just increase of HP. I already explained that. Increase of HP for Goblin Hut, because to be honest this is just another arena that just unlocks something, but it's a production building, baseline production building. I think it should have the same HP. There is no reason for this to be so squishy. Then we have the Weapon Master. Even though you have Blacksmith at 1000 HP, I didn't really want to make the whole beast town so tanky. Also the damage reductions are a little bit different for each race, so I just wanted to bring the Goblin Hut a little bit up, but I decided to keep this the same. Dark Archer definitely needed some buff. It's really important building that unlocks the whole other page of buildings for Beast, and I definitely think this should be quite tanky, so you can maintain it alive. So definitely wanted to increase this a little bit. Then we have the Lizard Fortress, just reduce the gems price a little bit. As I said, I wanted to reduce the gems overall, so you can have some stronger units. Revive Altar, just a small buff, not to the whole 1000 HP, even though it's a production building, but at least 750. It's a really strong building, so I didn't want to make it too broken, but small HP upgrade I think is valuable. Mouth of Hell, I already said this, just a small gems decrease once again. And then we have a small totem nerf, because the damage of totem is totally broken. So I just brought down the damage by 1 on both damage types here. Not too big of a change, but it will make the totem a little bit less one-shotty, let's say, because it was killing Hive Stingers like super quickly, for example. And then we have the Charge Deformer upgrade actually for Fallen, or buff, not upgrade, buff, by 5 damage, which is kinda to compensate the buff of Phoenixes and Harpies, which was also 5 damage. Of course you can't really use this in an attack, but it will make the Fallen base much more safe against flying units, which can definitely help you a little bit. So I think this is definitely a welcome change. Once again, some reduced prices of gems for buildings, so Dimension Gate, Hollow Whispers, and also Champion of the Avenger, all of them 25 gems cheaper, which is definitely a nice quality of life change. And then the towers, I actually buffed the Lightning Spire, because just based on the stats, you can go check the DPS. As I said, it was super underperforming in damage, so I gave it 5 more damage, also to compensate the buff to other units, let's say, of other factions. And also actually 20 more HP, because 380 was not really that much. Even though we have the auto heal, it's pretty slow, so I felt like this tower was really underperforming. On the other hand, I think the upgraded version is actually pretty strong, and the fact you could just make them just for gold, which you usually have ton of, seemed really broken, so I actually decided to add 25 wood price for it. So now it's not that easy to actually transfer to the upgraded version, but you can just stay on this version and actually have still pretty decent tower. So I think this is once again a really nice redesign of the towers. And this is everything, so hopefully you understood everything in this file. I will of course put it in the description, also probably on our Discord server together with the map, which we have right here. And now let's get to the game and actually play a quick match. Just with the AIs, I have a quick setup here, 2 Empires against Beast and Fallen, going with hard AIs because I'm trying to balance this around PvP, which is of course much easier to test with hard AIs because they are not cheating with 20% more resources and quicker production time. Okay, so I will try to go for the strategy with some Elf Rangers, then we'll add some Dryads a little bit later. Of course I can also go for some Priests after that, but that's basically everything. So my ally is Empire down here, and I'm also of course Empire. I will go for quick 2 barracks, make some swordsmen in the beginning, and then we will see how quickly we can get to the Elf Rangers, just to play it safe. We can also make a tower, but it's a little bit nerfed, of course. Yeah, let's actually make the barracks immediately. And yeah, we'll see what he's going to do. He'll probably go for Elf Rangers as well. He's not gonna make too many of them as he did with my previous changes, where I just made it too broken. But he'll probably make few of them unless he goes for Valkyries. We'll see what the enemies will do. Of course, if they just go for Hive Splitters, I mean the Fallen, he'll most likely add Avengers eventually, but they will of course be a little bit weaker, so that should definitely help us a little bit. The Beast will probably... Actually, what I saw from Beasts during my testing was that they started creating Stalkers. Sorry, not Stalkers. Yeah, actually Stalkers. Was it Stalker? I'm not sure about the name right now, but just the invisible unit that I gave spike damage. No, it's not Stalker, definitely. Stalker is the flying unit for Fallen. Right now I can't remember the name. I have still problems with English names in this game, even after so many hours. Yeah, but you have Seeker, you have Stalker, all the fallen units, and then you have this unit that I just forgot the name right now, but you know what I'm talking about. So they will probably go for these, what I saw from testing. And they usually combine it with Goblin Hunters, which is quite interesting. I didn't buff them, but I nerfed Goblin Riders, so even though they were not making those before, maybe that could have influenced it a little bit. Not sure about it. Yeah, so once again, or I mean, right now I'm against the Fallen. He's making Hive Stingers, so we should be able to deal with that just with our Swordsman. I just need the barracks really quickly. Yeah, actually, let's make the Blacksmith so we can unlock some Elf Rangers. We could also repair this just to be safe. The price of all towers actually is still the same, so you don't really need to worry about that. You can still quick expand, basically at the same speed and everything, so that shouldn't be a problem. Just the stats are adjusted a little bit. Yeah, actually my ally is going for Valkyries, so we won't see too much from him probably. Maybe just a stronger Phoenix if he goes for some of those. But for now, it doesn't really matter. As you can see, he's fighting in a really disadvantageous position, so he has no chance like this. Let's go for Iron Arrow upgrade, because I want to make ton of elves. And also let's go for the Elven Sanctuary, so we can start making some Dryads. Maybe actually even 2 centuries, but probably don't have enough resources for that yet. But maybe we do. Let's try it. If I don't go for Stone Keep and Temple, at least not for now, I should have enough resources for this. Yeah, so definitely this is something you would never do. I mean, this strategy you would never do it in the 1.4 patch. You would never play like this. You would lose to everything. Or maybe you would beat an AI, but outside of that you would lose to everything. You always want to go for priests, but here we are of course trying the different strategies that hopefully will be unlocked now with these changes. So I'm trying to max out some different units. As you can see, the 100 HP on farm is definitely also useful. He now brought it under 500, so basically undamaged farm for me. So let's go for the Call of the Wild immediately. Actually no, let's go for... Actually I don't have population, okay, that's my bad. I need to make some farms. Also probably some armor. Armor for swordsmen, so we have a little bit stronger front line. We can also do some repairs once again. And then just more Elf Rangers. Start with some Dryads, as I said. They cost 3 population, which is actually quite a lot. I would actually like to bring it to 2, so it's same as Priest. Unfortunately, you cannot change the population of units in the editor. So even though this would be a change I would like to make, I cannot do that. I don't know why this peasant is not gathering wood. Yeah, he was actually waiting for a tree, my bad. So let's go for another Dryad. Now we also have the upgrade ready. As you can see, if you just go for Dryads and not Priests, you will have enough gems for this. So the 60 gems price is not a problem in this situation. Let's go for another farm. And of course it's costs 150 mana, so you need to wait a little bit. Also this is really interesting. I think Dryad is the only unit where you see a supply, which is how much food you actually, or population you actually need to create this unit. Usually you have kills there or something, but it's actually moved up a little bit here. Or actually it's not moved. You have damage, armor and kills, and here you actually don't have damage of course with Dryads. Which you also don't have with Priest, but I don't think you see supply there, but maybe I don't remember that correctly. So let's make 2 more farms, and once we have the mana on our Dryads, we will just go for a quick attack. We can also go for Stone Keep. Maybe get improved farming or something. Yeah, so we have a nice group. Maybe actually group 3 will be nice, like this. I won't be using enchant, that will be just a waste of mana of course. Yeah, and I think we should be ready. Maybe let's add some swordsman, just a little bit more. But as you can see, 35 gold for Dryad is really convenient. Yeah, it's really similar to creating. I mean, the feeling is really similar to creating priests. where you also don't really need any gold, and just when you have extra gems you can just use it on the priests. So now you can also use it on dryads. So let's try a small push. My ally is actually already expanding, so I'm expecting the same thing from my enemies. Beasts usually expand a little bit later, but there is Fallen against me, so this should be really similar. He probably expanded here. I will probably still go through this area, or maybe just around. I don't want him to run through here while I'm going around, but hopefully he will not do that. We can maybe make one more Elf Ranger. Let's go really quickly and try to force him towards his expansion. Force him to protect it. Yeah, he just started it, so there is not a problem with that. I could also actually upgrade Cloak of Invisibility, but it costs a ton of gems and gold, so I don't think we really need that. You can also place some Eyes of Forest, but it would be just a waste of mana. I want to preserve everything for Call of the Wild, so right now we'll leave it like this. Let's make a few more units, maybe upgrade for damage. We can also make one more Dryad. Maybe queue up even more units, and now let's see. He'll probably have towers here, but we can hopefully tank them. So let's just produce some bears. Now I will use them as tanks. As you can see, they are really strong. 400 HP, 30 damage. So let's see how this is gonna work. Yeah, now maybe this might seem like a total broken strategy, but keep in mind that his towers are actually buffed. And he's killing the dire bears pretty quickly. So even though I had definitely a really strong army, he was able to actually kill all the melee units. Fortunately now I am not in range of his tower, and now I have these strong Elf Rangers in the front line. So let's add a little bit more units, maybe one more Swordsman or even more. So as you can see, I was definitely able to push this. This strategy might seem totally broken now, but keep in mind that this is just an hard AI. Also, bears take more damage from Pike, so you can counter them now also with Beast, thanks to Striders. Yeah, this is the name that I forgot before, with Striders. Also, bear is not too strong. I mean, you have bash damage that should be strong against buildings, but 30 is obviously just not enough. 30 damage. So let's kill this tower really quickly. Also have one Swordsman here. Yeah, so you can also counter them with pike damage. You can run away from them, even though they are quite fast. But as you can see, you can actually summon them quite rapidly. Yeah, bears are actually pretty fast. So this could definitely be an option. One strategy that I decided to show you here. We'll also see what the... yeah, I mean, my ally just spamming Valkyries. We'll see what the enemy beast actually did. And I will also try to fight against him. Not just my enemy, but also the enemy of my ally. I could also make an expansion, but I really don't want to waste any resources now. Maybe let's actually make our backline a little bit tankier. Also, let's make maybe one Phoenix for scouting. We can probably do that. There's some Elf Rangers, also some other units. I will need some frontline definitely against the beast, I think. So even though I can of course summon bears. Actually, yeah, maybe if you summon so many bears, you maybe don't even need swordsmen, just of course few in the early game, I mean the total early game. But outside of that, maybe you can just play with Elf Rangers. And of course this is a really nice strategy in, theme-wise as well, because you are just creating this whole army of nature with elves. So that is definitely really nice.
What would you ask?
Yeah, I don't really want to actually finish this because I'm pretty tight on time right now. I will need to end in like 5 minutes, so let's finish this. I'm not gonna finish the whole game. I will just try to fight the beast to show you what he made. Maybe he will have... yeah, I definitely actually need a Phoenix if he has invisible units, so definitely wise I decided to go for that. But yeah, let's make a few more units. Maybe another Dryad. Yeah, he actually has expansion here. I don't know if he has an army there, but he will probably go there if I attack, so let's see. The mana regeneration is actually pretty good for Dryads, so let's spawn some bears. And now we should be able to definitely push this. Actually, this is really brutal if you take a look on this. He will probably not come here. I mean, yeah, the bears are super broken. yeah, maybe this will need a small nerf, but once again, this needs testing against real players. Maybe they will just, yeah, as you can see, the summon time is not that long, so all you need to do is to just kite this. You will run away with Swordsman, with Trailblazing, of course. You can just heal yourself, and then you will actually kill the rest of the army, because the Jirads won't do anything, and they won't have mana for new bears, of course.
What would you ask?
And outside of that, this army is not that strong. The enemy actually also went for for flying, so we can test our Elf Rangers against flying units. As you can see, buffed Wyvern, only by 5 HP, but still dying really quickly to my Elf Rangers. But keep in mind that I have also Aura for 1 more damage and also 2 upgrades for damage, so definitely really nice. We can also summon a few more bears from some Jirads that came here a little bit later. But as you can see, I think we summoned with these the bears before, like right here, and they already have 140 mana again, so they can summon really soon once again. Of course, if you play against this, you can also land your Hive Stingers, for example, on Jirads and just kill them or splash them with Catapult. You have ton of options how to counter this, so I don't think this is like totally broken. But as you can see, it unlocks a total new strategy for this faction just by few changes of stats that of course we walked through in the beginning. Yeah, so I'm not gonna finish this, we killed all the units. Let's take a look at the results. Of course, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but you can see the huge army here, 48 largest army, even though I didn't even make an expansion. Yeah, so definitely really nice. So yeah, this is everything from me, guys. I hope you will like this this concept page. Hopefully you will test it with me and also between yourselves or with AIs. Give me some feedback either here in the description of this, oh, sorry, not description, in the comments of this video, or of course on our Discord community, which you will also have link in the description if you are not there yet. And you can also download the game there, of course. I mean the whole game, and also this patch mode. And also, of course, you can discuss everything with us. I will also place there this Excel file with all the patch notes, so you can walk through it yourself. Maybe use it for some of your own projects, because you have all the units here, all the buildings, most of the stats. So this will also be useful for some of you maybe. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and take care, guys.